Hello, I'm back again. It's rare for me to do these 2 days in a row, although I was trying to do it recently, but as I mentioned, I have so much stuff going on, transitioning my life uh, from body, mind, psychology into body, mind, spirit, soul, I guess. Um, as a form of religion, of course, because it's connected to Catholicism and anthroposophy, but transitioning, like what that looks like, and it's taken me many years. I've been on this process for really 10 years, and really was 5 years before that, where I was really called to it and just didn't want to, was resisting it. I didn't want to leave my work that I just had my work cited in the National Library of Medicine in 2009. And I had just written my second Beyondnaturalcures books. And I felt like I was really just getting started because everything that I had studied and worked for so long led to that point. And I was like, in 2013, when I had went through my divorce and my children were getting older, and I wasn't homeschooling anymore, I felt like this is it. Like, this is my time to go basically full circle with it. And I didn't want to let go of it. And then I had reinvented myself so many times because I was resisting. I had that health media company for a while, which was starting to do pretty good up until COVID. But essentially, I didn't want to accept that I had moved on and I was being called to move on. It's part of my destiny. And so that was very difficult for me to accept. And then I went through the huge dark night of the soul in 2018. And again, I was like Jacob in Israel, just really fighting and wrestling with it, trying to use my old ways of doing things and functioning, and it wasn't working anymore. And that's really what brought me back to Christ. And then committing myself to listening to Steiner lectures and reading them, and which was like Chinese at first. The first year I started listening, probably around 2019, it was like Chinese to me. I couldn't understand any of it. And I had to really commit every day. And so it was to follow the spirits of darkness, which has really opened me up to anthroposophy on that level. Really helped me move on beyond Waldorf, because for 25 years I was just really focused on Waldorf and Wilhelm Reich's work. And then around 2023, 22, no, actually I think it was 2022 was when I was listening to the Fourth Dimension, and there was a lecture in there where he was talking about reverence, and that's really made me realize in my Catholic upbringing how rebellious I was, how prideful I was, how resentful I was, how disrespectful I was. And it was like a light bulb went off. And so that sort of became the impetus for me to come full circle back into Catholicism. And I'm Vatican I. And I can talk about that more later at another date. But basically, I just wanted to say thank you to the people who appreciate this. I was really surprised when I checked my messages. I usually don't check them because this account doesn't really get much traction, and I just really do it as a labor of love, and it helps me get my mind sort of aligned for my new books and my new work and my new pathway. And I was pleasantly surprised all these wonderful comments that I received, and people connecting on the Russian anthroposophy video I made, and it's really cool. It's really nice to see that there's an interest there and there's other people feeling this vibe. Yeah, I was for a long time the whole pagan hippie aspect, even when I was sort of into that, and that person really put me off in Waldorf about Steiner, and I was so thankful to discover that that was just a bunch of Luciferics that were manipulating and changing his work, which we also know harmonically that's where cleverness and intellectual manipulation comes in. And so thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And maybe we can connect more on some other levels, maybe do a Zoom and something like that coming up if I find more interest. I'm going to go ahead and get that diagram book. I made all the diagrams, like probably about 30 or 40 of them, illustrating Reich's work or not Reich, illustrating Steiner's work against Reich's work, and the Catholic initiation and what that looks like. And I think that anyone who's into anthroposophy will appreciate it. And I'm really following Steiner's suggestions about allegories and how people need to be led from their own unconscious to consciousness, the Holy Spirit and Christ impulse. So we don't need to sit here and explain every little thing, like as we talked about before, Twin Peaks, what does this mean? What does this color mean? Picasso's blue period. Everything's got to have an explanation. People can't figure out anything. It's like our minds are all GPS now. Like, I used to be pretty good with directions because I grew up with maps. And it's just amazing now how with GPS system in the last, 15, 20 years, so many people have no sense of direction anymore. So it's comprehensive thinking that's been lost. So I'd like to make that available. Hopefully I can make it available on Amazon soon, because my book in Italian's coming out next week, Ultramare. What's really beautiful and wonderful about that is I was able to utilize some of Reich's work and some of Steiner's work, and it's a book on love. I even found some poems by Michelangelo, which is really, really cool. I didn't know he wrote poems, and so I was able to put some very avant-garde, cool, interesting stuff in that, along it's biographical, which I tend to write these biographies. I feel like, how do we bring our authentic self out? How do we reach humanity? And I can't do that behind somebody else's allegory, somebody else's stories, although I like to share those things. I'm very grateful and thankful and appreciative that I have such a rich life full of so many beautiful stories and experiences that I can share with others. And so I'll look for that soon. I'll let you know when that becomes available. But I wanted to get back on